Hello. So we are one sleep away from getting on our plane and flying to Paris. So we have a few things left to do. First of all, shout out to my friend Lionel, who told me to turn my phone to the side so that we have a more professional look. So any of those little tips that we can utilize, we want to utilize because obviously this is our first go around. We're very new at this. So thank you, Lionel, for looking out for us, and we're excited to be doing it the correct direction now. Horizontal, is that what they call that, baby, left to right?
Yes.
Okay, yes, horizontal. So Christopher is eating his last bowl of Raisin Bran for the year. We are told that there is not Raisin Bran in France, that there's a lot of muesli and granola with raisins, so he's going to be okay with that. But he will miss his Raisin Bran. And we just got done with dinner with Oscar and his girlfriend Emily. They'll be joining us in France in May, because then we're going to also go to England to see a soccer game. Which one are we seeing, baby? Aston Villa versus Liverpool. So that will be fun to for them to get to see that. Actually, Emily and I are going to go shopping that day and have lunch because it's a day game, and the boys are going to go to the soccer game. If you have not seen a European football game, it is exciting. It is loud. There's a lot of smoke. There's a lot of chanting. It's a whole thing. So it should be fun for the guys to go see all that. But yeah, we're pretty much ready. 2 of our suitcases were picked up from, I used free baggage to pick up our suitcases. And so they will get there probably November 3rd, which is my birthday. So that'd be a fun birthday present to get my luggage. And then we will have our bags tomorrow. I just checked in. Note to the wise, if you're not a regular flyer that flies with an airline company that has multiple, entities in their family of flying, you have to check in with the beginning flight. So example, we bought our tickets from Air France, but from here to Atlanta, we fly Delta. So I had to check in on the Delta app. So just know too, that is a different confirmation number. So if you booked your flight, say with British Airways or Air France, but you have a Delta beginner of the flight, make sure that you call Delta or even Air France. Air France is the one that gave me the answer actually, and ask them what the confirmation number is so that you can check in properly when it's time for your thing. Also, what I noticed, which I did not know would happen, so Christopher and I have our visa, obviously. When I went to check in, it stated that we would be required to show our visa upon getting on the plane, which is interesting because I didn't realize, I guess, that the world was so connected that Air France and Delta would know that we have a visa in France. Like, how would they even know we have a visa? And our flight's not for like more than a year, so it's not like or even more than 90 days. So because that return flight, we're gonna have to extend once we do this first leg. That's a weird story. Like, you can't book a flight without a return flight from the United States, or at least I couldn't with what I was trying to accomplish. So we had to book the flight, but we couldn't book it out a whole year, right? So, because those flights weren't available. So we had to book it, I think the furthest I could push out was like February. So when we land in France in the next couple weeks or whatever, when we get our lease for the apartment, so we know when we might be coming back, then I'll be able to rebook the return portion of our trip and obviously just pay the difference in airfare. But in doing that, these people didn't know that we were going to be there more than 90 days. So why did they think we need a visa? So it's interesting. I don't know how it's all connected. But the world is getting smaller and smaller, along with the fact that now when you roll up to the airports, starting October 12th, they implemented, I think they're calling it ETIAS, ETIAS off the top of my head, which basically is just an electronic entry system. When you go into the EU, any of the EU countries now, you will actually get a face scan. I don't think it's fingerprints. I think it's just a face scan. I'll update you. And they go on record. So that's kind of like when you're going through immigration, I guess that would be. That is when they are going to be setting that all up. So the next time you go, plan on having to do that. And then they're going to be eventually set up in every train station, or at least border train stations, I should say, or destination train stations. And they're going to be on ferries. They're going to be on obviously the airports, so that there won't be passport stamping anymore, which is very sad because Christian and I just got new passports and we got them with the 50 pages because we were ready to get all these stamps as we travel. And now we're not going to get any stamps because they're using this electronic thing. It is going to be a way for them to keep track of you very diligently on the EU rule of travel, which is, if you're unaware, if you do not have a visa, you can travel in the EU total, not just per country, but collectively, any EU country. You can only travel 90 days and 180 days. Now that's a rolling calendar. So it gets rather complicated. So I do encourage you, if you're going to be doing a lot of traveling, to get an app. I have not isolated what app we're going to use yet, but I'm used to it wasn't that detailed. It didn't have to be perfect because, you know, if you took a ferry somewhere or you took a train and you didn't go through a customs or an immigration piece, then they didn't even know you're in the country. It didn't matter. But now with all this electronic tracking, actually, it's going to be a lot more important that you keep track of those yourself also, because they're going to be aware of how many days you've been in what country and collectively what that looks like. So we'll find an app and we'll share with you what that is, and then we'll keep track as we go in and out of how it works. Because even for us, even though we can be in France for 365 days plus renewable, we can't be outside of France in other EU countries more than that same 90 days in a 180-day time frame. So we have to adhere to that also, which is kind of interesting. That's the EU rule. So we're going to try and go to bed early tonight, finish up just 2 Netflix shows that we're wanting to see because we won't have access to those in France unless we decide to do a VPN number. I'll keep you posted on whether or not we need to use that. We're also going to do this thing with Dazen, which here in the United States doesn't provide football, but it does in Europe in regards to, they have the contract for providing American football. So we'll be watching our football with that if we're not, you know, at a public place or somebody else's house or something of that nature. So we have those pieces in play, which is kind of fun to work out that technology. Supposedly a VPN won't work with YouTube though. Somebody else told me that's not true. It does work with YouTube. So if you do know if that works, you know, put it in my comments, but we'll try it out probably and see what happens if we think we need a VPN so we can watch like stuff from home and that sort of thing. So yeah, we'll watch our shows, we'll hit the bed. We'll have a little bit of laundry left over, but Mom's going to take care of that. We got everybody taking care of everything here at the house, which is great. And then we'll get up tomorrow morning. I've got an eye doctor appointment really quick because I got this eye twitch. And then we'll come back and have our bags ready, and the driver picks us up at 1:45. Yay! Just one day. So talk to you next time. Thanks for listening.